Is Sanjay Ashar. In fact, he's joining us live on the show, senior partner at Crawford Bayley. Mr. Ashar, good evening. And this piece of news that we are still digesting, we're still going through in great detail. I'm wondering if you had a chance to pore over some of the bits in that report. But this ruling that has come out, the SEBI report, the final report that has come out in the Hindenburg case, how much does it play into this narrative of India versus foreign forces? Because I was speaking to Mr. Decodes just a moment ago, and he says it's a strong pitch that is being made as far as this report is concerned. This exoneration is rather significant. How do you see it?
Absolutely. It's a very significant report, and it's a very positive development as far as the country is concerned, the markets are concerned, the investors are concerned, and overall on the governance and other aspects as far as India is concerned and the Indian business houses are concerned. So it is extremely welcome development which has happened.
As Hindenburg is concerned, they were claiming it was exposing India's largest corporate fraud. So now, with the rejection of the allegations by SEBI, how does this undermine the credibility of short sellers globally, according to you? How is that perception going to change now, which would perhaps help the way the markets react in our part of the world?
No, obviously, one would read between the lines and know that, look, in order that I short shell, and then I have this report also published and issued, and then I malign a business house. At the same time, my purpose is served.
Mr. Ashar, we'll try and reconnect with, but this is an important piece that we are tracking in great detail as more and more information comes out of the SEBI final report, which is a clear exoneration of the Adani Group in this matter of Hindenburg. Mr. Ashar, now the Supreme Court had asked SEBI to look into possible violations. But now, as far as the regulator and the Supreme Court, we are seeing this exoneration come through. It has clearly strengthened SEBI's hand. Tell us about the kind of scrutiny from the court that we've seen. If you can help us decode the entire approach into this investigation that has taken place, that perhaps builds that much more credibility in the processes that India follows to look into allegations of this nature.
So, step one, it went before the Supreme Court. Step two, there was a committee which was appointed by the Supreme Court. The committee gave a green signal or a clean chit. Thereafter, SEBI in any event has scrutinized that. SEBI, after looking at every single piece of paper and after analyzing every single piece of information which was available, they have come now to a conclusion that, look, there was nothing in the report which is worth against Adani, and that everything was normal. It is just that the Hindenburg had made some false allegations on Adani Group. So in other words, the high-powered Supreme Court committee itself, which was extremely high-powered committee, scrutinized and gave the first report. And thereafter now SEBI, after a detailed scrutiny, so which gives a lot of credibility as far as the Indian scrutinizing agencies are concerned.
So it's quite clear that as far as liability is concerned, no liability has been found. As far as this particular case is concerned, SEBI has conducted an elongated investigation, and now we are looking at the final report, which is quite detailed in nature. But one wonders if this leads into that much more scrutiny, this episode, if it highlights any gaps in disclosure norms, in related party transactions that Indian corporates must address. Now that we've had this case, now that we've got a final report on it as well, the learnings, the takeaways as far as Indian corporate, the entire approach to look into scrutinies of this kind, investigations, the way they are conducted, how much of that now gets a proper play in terms of the kind of modus operandi that the market regulator follows?
Today we already have the processes in place as far as related party transactions are concerned, as far as any other aspects of of governance are concerned. You have the audit committee, you have the regulations, you have the audit committee, you have the board, you have the general body meetings. And then over and above that, there is the scrutiny which the stock exchanges do. Stock exchanges do ask any questions. And further, if they find anything alarming, then of course SEBI is there in order to scrutinize. So, in other words, there are enough processes which are in place in order to see that the corporate houses do have their related party transactions or similar transactions in such a manner that does not are disadvantageous to the small shareholders or to any of the stakeholders of the company.
Do you see the need for any more tightening of regulations when it comes to promoter holdings, Mr. Asher? When you're talking about offshore funds or shell companies, do you see tighter regulations that are required for SEBI to put in place going by this particular experience, this particular scrutiny?
No, not necessarily, because there is already sufficient disclosures which are required to be made under the SEBI LODR regulations, under the SEBI PIT regulations, under the takeover code regulations, as also under the Companies Act. You have the significant beneficial ownership disclosures which are required to be made, as also under the securities law. So there is no need to do anything further.
Question that keeps coming back, Mr. Asher, is this, that are we going to see any more legal pursuit of this particular matter? Is this matter closed, or we're likely to see any domestic or global organizations that might take this up further?
No, to my mind, it's a finality now. It's a finality. You can't flog the dead horse. I mean, how many times you will do? There was two scrutinies have already happened. Why do you want a third scrutiny now? So, to my mind, this is the finality now on this Hindenburg issue.
This investigation, though, has spanned a long period of time, more than a year, and multiple extensions also have taken place, and they were sought. But does the length of this probe strengthen SEBI's case as far as the way in which the probe was conducted?
Yes, of course, it does strengthen. It does strengthen, 100%.
So when you're talking about the kind of credibility that will return because of this case, we have been talking about the markets and how foreign investors have been leaving our shores to invest in other markets. Does the kind of valuation pressure that the markets have seen, do you see all of that changing drastically because a regulator and a Supreme Court have ruled in favor of the Adani Group and exonerated the group?
Yes, in my view, very much, because after a very, very thorough scrutiny, SEBI has now come to a finality on this. And so, therefore, it does send positive signals to the world market, to the investors, that look, India is a place where governance is not an issue, where the scrutiny is not an issue. Everything is scrutinized to the last possible dot. And if at all there are any issues, those issues are to be resolved. So therefore, yes, it sends positive signal, and to my mind, it's an excellent development which has happened, giving to the investors that India is a place where you need to invest.
And what lesson should boards of other Indian conglomerates take from this Adani Hindenburg case, Mr. Asher?
Nothing. I mean, you just have to be careful on the related party transaction, on the ICDs, or any transaction which does require the scrutiny of the audit committee, the internal auditor, as also the board.
Mr. Asher, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on this all-important case. We have a SEBI final report on the Hindenburg case, which exonerates the Adani Group. But thanks indeed.